What's going on, guys? In this video, I want to talk to you guys about rejection and how to handle it. I gotta be honest with you guys, handling rejection wasn't something that was easy for me in the beginning. I mean, I feel like my whole life I faced rejection one way or another. If we're talking about in the dating world, whether it was me walking up to a girl in person or trying to shoot my shot on these dating apps, I've regularly dealt with being turned down because I didn't essentially come off as like the ideal man to them. Like, being that I was a 5'7" Indian guy with a skinny frame, you weren't gonna really find me walking into a club and then leaving with groups of women wrapped around me. And the same went for job hunting. When it came time for me to look for a corporate job, given that my grades were so shitty, it was really hard for me to find opportunities that weren't either get-rich-quick schemes or your average door-to-door sales jobs. There was a point where I was just getting rejected left and right, and it only made me more insecure and self-conscious about myself, thinking that something was wrong with me and I wasn't good enough. But then, a year ago, I came to the realization that it's not the rejection itself that's so bad, it's our reaction to the rejection. It's our negative reaction and our poor handling of the rejection that ultimately destroys our self-confidence and scares us from ever wanting to try again. And guys, look, you can never avoid it, but you can always learn how to handle it. And for me personally, I've learned to use it as a learning lesson rather than something that's meant to break me down and discourage me. So sit back and relax, because I want to give you guys some personal examples on how I handled rejection over the years and some of the things that I've learned personally. I'm actually going to take this outside because it's actually a really nice day and I'm actually wearing one of my nice shirts. Let's go outside and talk about this there. We're gonna go outside with my coffee. It's actually really nice outside. Ah, damn it, that hurt. Yo, there's bees around me, so yeah, I hope you guys hit the like button because I'm putting myself in the eye of the storm for you guys. Alright, so the first tip on how to handle rejection is to not take rejection personally. So this applies to getting rejected when shooting your shot at a girl. I know it's easier said than done, especially in the heat of the moment, but understand that people are looking for very particular things. So we gotta remember that they can't reject you as a person because they don't know you. They're rejecting a situation that just didn't work for them, and that's completely okay, and we gotta respect that. Especially if we're talking about situations where your interaction with this person is limited or nearly non-existent. If we're using stuff like dating app, their answer could be based off of something specific that just didn't work for them personally, or it could even be past experiences and values. So this is actually a really random example, but there were so many times, I can't even count, where I got turned down by girls simply because we had different religious views. So even though a lot of people our age are distancing themselves from religion, some people are still wanting to end up with a partner that has the same background or religion as them, either because it's their personal preference or it's to make their family happy. It's not like these girls knew everything about me and then decided to say no. Like, no, they didn't need to know me. They already knew their answer before I even approached them. Regardless of the person, whether he was kind, ambitious, funny, handsome, it doesn't really matter because they were stuck on one particular preference. And honestly, in situations like that, I would rather get rejected because that gives me the closure knowing that I don't have to spend my time chasing after this person anymore. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, it's getting hot and I'm sweating and I know my allergies are gonna kick in, so I'm gonna get out of here and go back into my room. Let's go. Alright, oh my god, this is so much better, man. It's hot as a bitch outside and I'm sweating and there's bees all over me and allergies and I'm complaining, and there you go. Let's get right back into it. And guys, side note, but that's also why it's important to ask why after getting rejected, whether it's by your crush or your manager. In the past, when I got turned down, I just assumed that something was wrong with me or I just wasn't good enough for the person or the job. But after asking why, I realized that it wasn't anything personal against me. They would have said no to anybody. Alright, so I want to give a quick example of why you should be asking why. So I remember I really wanted to work for Lexus, the car dealership. Oh man, I thought it would be so cool to drive around their cars, and I was a really good salesperson, so I knew I'd be able to sell at least like 2 or 3 a month, and that meant I would be making bank. So I don't know why, but Lexus had this like really tough interview process, right? So you'd basically get interviewed by the recruiter twice, and then if you pass that, you'd be able to go into this like little training program where there would be like, 20 other people, and it would be this 2-hour class over the weekend, and then finally at the end, you'd be able to get picked to go interview with the general manager of the dealership. So I get through the recruiter, and then I'm in this training program, and during the last hour of the session, the general manager finally comes in along with like some supervisors. So he introduces himself himself, introduces the company, and like tries to hype it up. And then finally he goes around everybody to ask them to introduce themselves. When he's calling on everybody, they're all just like kind of sitting down. They sound really mellow. They don't sound like they're really into it. So he finally gets to me and I stand up and I'm like, I don't know if it's because I'm on coffee, but I'm hype and I'm like excited. And yo, I gave a fucking speech. Like I sounded like Tony Robbins. Like I was hype and I was excited and I stood up and gave this speech. I felt like I was Obama at like the commencement speech, right? And then finally, the manager was so impressed that he looks at me and he's like, all right, I want this guy first, but tell him to lay off on the coffee though. He's a little too excited. So I'm killing it at this interview, right? Like I got the hunger, the ambition, the sales experience, the energy, all of that stuff. Like I'm 1000% confident that I was gonna land this job because even the manager, when he was talking to me, he wasn't talking in terms of like, okay, if you get the job at Kyo, he was talking in terms of like, all right, when you get the job. Like he was so impressed that he wanted me to join. So I left that interview feeling like $1,000,000, right? So a week later, I get the email and I got rejected. I was like, what? I was so mad. I was actually confused. Like I started backtracking everything. I was like, wait, did I like offend him? Did I say something wrong? Did I like walk out and like accidentally scratch one of his cars while leaving? Like what? I thought I had this. But instead of me just taking that rejection and then like just never looking back at it, I was pissed. So I called them and I asked them why I got rejected. And it was because of my driving record. Yeah, I had a shitty driving record. I had like 2 accidents and like a speeding ticket prior to the interview. And that was enough for them to be like, all right, like he's got the sales experience, but like we can't trust this guy around like cars, driving customers around because this guy's a huge liability. The moral of that story was that I'm happy I asked because honestly, if I didn't, I would have drowned myself in doubt forever. You know, started to question everything that I had during that interview process. I would have questioned my energy, my confidence, the jokes I gave, my experience, my personality, everything going forward. And honestly, after finding out for myself, I actually cope with the rejection a lot easier because I started to use it as a learning experience. And funny enough, because I actually started driving a lot safer due to that experience because call it trauma, whatever you want, but like I just never wanted that to be the reason of me never getting an opportunity ever again. And that goes for you guys too because you guys could take these rejections, learn from them, understand the reasoning behind them, and only use them to further improve yourself. Alright, so moving on. Now the second tip is that at the end of the day, rejection is just a number. What I mean by that is that if a person goes through enough rejections, a no could turn into a yes. Alright, so a really good example I could give you guys with this one is when I kept desperately trying to apply to Best Buy when I was like 19 or 20. So I don't know why, but Best Buy for me was always one of those places that felt like the coolest jobs to have as a teenager. You got paid well with really good employee discounts. If you were a tech geek, it was basically heaven. And you always got to hang out with some really cool managers and other college students. So I remember my first year of college, I kept applying to this Best Buy near my house. And I shit you not, I got rejected 4 times. It was actually embarrassing at the moment, but the first 2 times that I applied, I got the email coming back saying that they weren't gonna pick me. And then the 3rd time, I actually made it to the interview round, but I bombed it in the 1st round. And then the 4th time, I actually made it to the 2nd interview with the general manager, but he didn't think I was qualified enough, so he never called me back. So you can only imagine how demoralizing it was for me for getting rejected by the same place 4 times. I mean, at that point, I kind of just wanted to give up because it was like God was telling me like, bro, let it go. Like, this ain't it, chief. So weeks later, I'm at the gym with my friend, right? Who actually, ironically enough, works for Best Buy, but he works for a different location than the one that I was chasing at the moment. So anyways, we're at the gym and he points over to this dude that was at the squat rack. And he's like, yo, like, that's my general manager. His name is John. He's actually a cool dude. You should probably ask him if he has any openings at the moment. And I was embarrassed at first to ask, but then I was just kind of like, you know what? Like, I've been rejected 4 times. Like, really, like, what is one more? Like, what do I have to lose at this point? So anyways, I build up the courage to walk up to this guy. My friend introduces me and I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm Akio. I really want to work for you and I actually have sales experience. And he looks at me and he goes, all right, just send your resume to my HR. She'll give you a call tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, sure, like whatever, right? 2 weeks later, I get the job. And I swear to you, that alone taught me so much about rejection because that's when I realized that if I asked enough times, then somebody would say yes and accept me. My resume didn't change, my attitude didn't change, and my approach wasn't any different. It all just came down to the person. And that goes for dating too, right? Because I'm gonna be a Keo no matter where I go. If I go up to 5 girls and they think I'm ugly, but then the 6th one gives me her number, then that only goes to show that it's all a numbers game at the end of the day. It all just comes down to how many people you ask. The first 5 girls probably thought my smile was ugly, but then the 6th one thought it was really cute. And the crazy thing about that is that I would have never known if I just didn't keep trying. Ever since that Best Buy incident, I took that lesson and applied it to everything going forward. Even the current job that I'm at right now. I still got rejected, but it didn't faze me anymore because I had this newfound confidence in myself. I kept trying and I continued to get turned down because I didn't have the qualifications, but I didn't care because I knew somebody would say yes. Eventually, I landed an interview with my manager, and unlike the previous recruiters, he actually loved my corny dad jokes and the wild burst of energy that I brought to the table, so he gave me a shot. And I know my example was like very specific to me, but really take that lesson and apply it to when you go out to the bar and you're trying to talk to a girl, or maybe you're going to a job interview, or even when you're trying to sell a product to a salesperson. Just understand that if you ask enough people, a no will eventually turn into a yes if you just go up to the right person. Alright, now the third tip is to understand that rejection is just an opinion. It reflects the rejector more than the rejectee. Alright, so a couple weeks ago, I put out a video called How to Stop Caring About What People Think, which you could actually find right here. Or here. And in that video, I actually talked about how negative judgments people make are really just a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And let me tell you, when facing rejection, the same exact principles apply. So growing up, I always wanted to be an actor. Like, seriously. When you create passwords and you have to create that security question, my question was always, what is your dream job? And my answer would always be actor. I should probably change that now. So anyways, when YouTube came into the picture in like 2007 or so, I really wanted to make videos so I could live like the people I idolized at the time. You know, people like Niga Higa and like Kev Jumba. Yeah, remember them? So I remember when I was like 12, I went up to my dad and I was like, Dad, like when I grow up, I want to be a YouTuber and an actor, like, you know, someone that owns his own business. And sadly enough, he flat out rejected me and said, no, like that's not a good idea. You should get a high-paying job with benefits, like, you know, someone like a computer engineer, or like, ooh, like a doctor. I mean, looking back, it was actually kind of funny because he was trying to hype up jobs like, you know, computer engineer and doctor because, like, you know, I was young and impressionable, so like he thought if he convinced it and hyped it up enough, it would make it cooler than what I wanted to do. But like, come on, like as a kid, you were gonna make me think that being a computer engineer was cooler than being Kev Jumba. Like, come on. Anyways, when I heard that at 12, like, that really hurt, man, because that crushed my entire dreams of pursuing the life that I wanted for myself. And then I started to doubt myself and question myself, thinking like, maybe it wasn't possible. Maybe I wasn't meant to be chasing my passion, and I don't think I was cut out for this whole actor YouTube thing, because if my own dad rejected me, then why wouldn't other people? Now, of course, my dad loved me and he cared for me, and he obviously wanted me to be financially successful and independent, but he had a completely different perspective on how I was gonna get there. And that's when I realized that our differences were generational. And you know what? I totally get that. I mean, my dad came to America in 1997 with close to no money, and he went through his own set of rejections and failures in Florida before he finally settled in Jersey, where he became a software engineer. He had the stable income, he got the benefits, he got a really nice car, a really nice house, and he was providing for his family. So in theory, he was living the American dream. But I grew up in the age of technology and startups, right? Where everywhere you turned, you found a new young and ambitious person become a multi-millionaire all through the use of the internet. In other words, we grew up in the days where taking risks and chances meant you could be financially independent. So growing up, I never asked him to explain what was going through his mind. Instead, I just took his rejection to heart and believed that I wasn't worthy enough to chase after my own passion and quirky dreams. I mean, that was over a decade ago, so I finally asked him why he rejected my idea, and he said, I just thought it wouldn't work out. I mean, I grew up in the day and age of where job security meant everything. That was the American dream. But I realize now that times are changing. I look around and there's so many people, not even just people, children who are becoming filthy rich by just reviewing toys. So now I realize that anything is possible. The sky's the limit. He said, I used my own doubts and fear of rejection and perpetuated it onto you. I thought of myself becoming a YouTuber and thought it'd be impossible, so that's why I rejected you. But honestly, looking around now, I would gladly want you to be an actor. Shit, use YouTube to be an actor if you want to. Anything for that matter, because I realized that now the sky's the limit. Man, when I heard that, I felt like a huge weight of fear, doubt, and resentment just lifted off of my shoulders. And at that moment, I realized that my dad's rejection wasn't anything personal against me. It was just a reflection of how he felt, of his own fears, doubts and skepticisms put onto me. And ever since then, I took that instance and related back to everything that I do now and all the things that I chase after. And you guys should too. If your parents are turning you down for wanting to be like a basketball player or like an artist or even like a scuba diver, just know that they're not rejecting you because they don't think that you can do it. They realize they can't do it, so they throw all of that fear and doubt back onto you. And look, maybe this tip doesn't really apply to when you're trying to ask a girl for her number, but it definitely applies to your career, your future. Look, whatever you want to do, you can do it, and I know you can, but you just gotta work really hard and just drown out all of the noise. Guys, trust me when I say this, but rejection fucking hurts, man. But we have to understand that it's an unavoidable aspect of being human. No one you know, no one has ever succeeded in love or in life without first facing some rejection. And look, being rejected doesn't mean that someone isn't liked or valued or important. It just means that one time in one situation with one person, things didn't work out. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Please hit the like button. It lets me know that you guys are supporting, and also subscribe because I really do try to put out a new video every week. And also, I would love it if you guys DM me or commented your rejection story, or if you have any other questions. My name is Akil Nova. If you guys stuck around this long, it lets me know that you guys love me, and I truly appreciate it. And most importantly, I hope this message and this video helped you in some way. I love you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.